Okay guys, welcome back to Norman's Garage. I want to give you guys an update. I have been plugging away a little bit, not a whole lot, but stuff I didn't film, I just did as I had a little bit of energy. So, did get the floors back in now, and those are fully welded. You know, it honestly sucked welding back to all this factory steel, so I had to do some patch plates and stuff like that. And, you know, they're good enough to stand on, jump on, everything else. Obviously, they're not sealed 100%. That's where seam sealer is going to come into play. So, yeah, got the floors all back in there. As you saw last time, got our fire bottle set up and parachute mount, stuff like that. You know, window net, seat belts, all that good stuff. So that's all good there, and I feel comfortable having the floors back in now. We did go ahead and just prep the underside of the cage and paint that with just some rattle can, because we wanted to go ahead and make sure that didn't rust. So my main goal right now is getting this thing ready to go to the paint shop. As I think I said in a previous video, my friend Dale at Mako is going to handle all of the interior and engine bay paint and cage and all that. I know Mako gets a bad rap. However, my friend Dale has done all of the work on this car, and he's into cars as well, and he does a great job. And the best thing about it too is the turnaround. I mean, they'll have something turned around in a week or two versus, you know, a couple months for a normal paint shop. And I mean, my stuff holds up well, and there's no need to have a $5,000 paint job on a race car that's going to have a jack handle or a wrench bump against it. So floors are back in. I have the dash just kind of mocked up. I did a lot of cutting inside of this factory dash. You can see it's pretty wobbly. I just got one bolt in it right now because I've got to make some brackets here and everything else. I did get a Jace Composites fiberglass roof in, and surprisingly enough, this fits really well actually. I just got it on there. It's going to come off when it goes to paint, you know, to get all the paint, but I just wanted to see how it fits, and that fits all well and good. And I went ahead and threw a mock-up engine in here. This is a completely bare engine and transmission, no pistons or rods or anything like that in there. I want to go ahead and just get stuff mocked up, because before it goes to the paint shop, I want to have every single bulkhead penetration taken care of. So I do have the firewall completely sealed off now, and all the plates are done welding and everything else there. Now I just want to make sure to get all of my actual firewall penetrations done, and also, you know, everywhere else on the cage, anywhere I have little brackets I want to weld, stuff like that, I want to get all that done, you know, within reason. There's always going to be something you got to add, but that way I'm not disturbing the paint too much. So now I need to focus more on firewall stuff. So I do want to make a sensor block plate that has all of my sensors and vacuum references on it. So I'm pretty much cleared out this whole area here. My other wiring harness is going to come through the bulkhead here where the heater core was. So I do want to go ahead and make a plate here. I cut something last night, not really sure it's going to fit pretty well. So I cut this last night, and that's going to do a pretty good job. So I want to keep as much possible room in the back here for your wiring harness and for like being able to access your rear engine mount and stuff. So it feels like I have a bunch more room than I used to. Like, I really don't remember having this much room behind the intake manifold to my firewall. I think it's because I had a lot of like stuff like, you know, this was actually mounted right up on the firewall, and a bunch of other little sensors and stuff, and everything was just kind of add as you go type deal. So making this, you know, having all your sensors mounted to one plate is going to make it a lot cleaner, and then, you know, you can just pull off everything at once. So first off, I am going to need to go ahead and put some nut certs into the firewall where I want to mount this. But first off, that's going to require me to drill holes through here, so I make sure I got good alignment, and then we'll go from there. But so the main goal, so I've got numerous pressure sensors, if you guys watched my video about all the AEM stuff. So I've actually got a 4-port sensor block here from Motion. So for those of you guys that don't know, when you do, so anytime a sensor gets any sort of vibration in it, I don't care how good all of your sensors are and all your wiring is, you're still going to have a noisy signal, because all the vibrations through the block or head or transmission or whatever it's mounted to, if it's mounted directly to it, is going to get vibration, and then you're not going to have good data to go off of. So especially pressure sensors. Temperature sensors aren't quite as bad, but pressure sensors are really bad for having noise. So anytime you can mount something remotely, so all these are going to be mounted to the firewall, and then you use another line to it, so that way you're just reading the pressure off of that source, and you're not actually reading all the vibration and everything else. So everything, planning on laying them out onto this actual plate here and having them all nice and mounted in one spot. So the way my wiring harness is built is for pretty much all of my pressure sensors to be in one spot, other than my exhaust back pressure that's got the filter on it. That's a really nice piece from Full Function Engineering, and that's the only one that I'm not going to have mounted in the same spot. That's going to be mounted more closer like to my transmission, just to make that line longer in the coil, just to make the line shorter. But yeah, anytime you could mount your pressure sensors away from the engine, and I'm actually going to be mounting all these onto rubber isolator mounts as well off the firewall. I just don't have them yet. So, but that's not going to really affect how I modify this make this bracket. So I'm going to have all these sensors here, and I'm going to label everything. And then I've got my vacuum manifold, just a regular vibrant vacuum manifold. That's going to be for all my boost lines and all. If you guys also notice, I use all -4 lines for vacuum, for sensor references, everything else. So because a vacuum line coming off, if it's like the little push locks or whatever, push to connect fittings, they wear out over time. I've lost an engine over it because of a fuel pressure regulator line coming off. So with a threaded connection, if it gets loose, it's still going to do something, and it gives you a little bit of a while to figure out what's up, especially when you do, you grab on stuff and make sure everything's right between passes, stuff like that. So I like using threaded connections for everything, because it gives you, how many threads worth of, it's not going to be a perfect signal when it's loose. However, you're not going to just go to nothing. So using threaded connections for all that stuff is very good, because I really don't like those push to connect fittings. I know they work and they are reliable. However, if you reuse them over and over again, they start to crimp on the hose a little bit. You need to be mindful of that and clip them off and stuff. And I just, if those pop off, they pop off. There's no saving it, right? I mean, it just pushes out. So with a threaded connection, it gets a little loose. It's just a little loose and might affect something by 1 or 2 pounds or something like that, but it's really not going to be as big of a deal. If it's a vacuum line, you'll probably hear a little bit of a vacuum leak rather than a whole fuel pressure regulator boost reference going bad. So I'm going to start making this, and not too much to film here. Just going to make it and mount all these things. I also do have a Holley idle air control valve coming that's got like its own little separate filter and all, so I can run off this vacuum block, because I don't know about you guys, but when you're using a 90mm throttle body on a 4-cylinder, one small slight turn in the throttle set screw can change it by like 500 RPMs. So I'm tired of dealing with that. I just rather set my throttle almost shut and then deal with using an idle air control valve again, and try to go through that. So got that coming. I'm going to leave this spot open for it, so because I know roughly the size, and Romy did incorporate that in my harness. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that handles one of my firewall penetrations, and then next time you guys will see some catch can related stuff on how I'm getting all those lines through the firewall as well, because I am mounting my catch can in the rear. So go ahead and work on this. Okay, so I've got this plate, got nut certs all there. Like I said, it's going to be using some rubber standoffs. I just don't have them yet. Amazon Prime 2-day is not 2-day right now. But so I got this one sensor block mounted up, all these nice AEM stainless steel pressure sensors. So if you look on their website, it shows about how the brass is more like a a tape measure, and the stainless is more like a caliper. The stainless are their best sensors. Highly recommend them. And if you want to get even better, put them on a sensor block. So going ahead and kind of getting stuff kind of figured out where I want to lay it out. However, for some reason, Motion Raceworks, this bracket, like that hole inside of there, I don't know if you can see it, but it's really big. It's like, it's almost a ½ inch And for some reason, I'm sure it's got some sort of purpose for mounting to some sort of LS intake manifold or something, and like fitting around some dowels all neat, but it really doesn't work for me. So I really don't want to use that big of a bolt, and I don't want it to move around. So I actually want to make a spacer. So I actually kind of just bolted up these old like fuel rail spacers that are synthetic, and or some sort of phalonic, you know, plasticky material. I'm gonna make these down. I don't have a lathe to make any custom spacers, so I want to chuck these up in the drill and then take it on to the sanding belt, and you know, hopefully they're round. So I need to be like 480 thousandths, somewhere around there. I think it's 470 when you get in the apex of it. And right now these are pretty big. These are more like 8 something, more like 785, you know. So definitely got to take some stuff down, and we'll chuck these in the drill and put it on the sanding belt. Hopefully have us a nice little spacers there to make up those areas. All right, so when you don't have a lathe, you improvise. One day, hopefully I will, especially with my new garage going up, you know. But you got to improvise, right? Staying nice and round. I'm definitely glad I'm using an old belt for this, but seems to be working, and we'll get her down to like 465 and we'll go from there. All right, so definitely just made a mess. It's definitely hot. However, we got us some nicely ground spacers that fit in there well, and that'll help us to center that up in there, and we're all good now. So that'll help us to mount it. Quick little trick if you guys didn't know that. Okay guys, so now got this plate all made up. So can't get all the bolts in right now because I'm still waiting on those standoffs. But I think that looks good. That's a good mount for all my pressure sensors. They're easy to get to and out of the way. And then also all your vacuum lines will be able to come off of here everywhere. And you know, there's just one central one that comes to the intake manifold. So I think that's all looking pretty good. And next week, I'm going to get on to doing all my wiring harness, actual, you know, penetrations. So one of them's going to come through here and a couple of them over here. So trying to get all them straight, and then actually mounting my ECU and boards and all down here. So it's all going to go in this kind of area. Also get this dash worked up. So got to get this board mounted. You got your, you know, solid state relay and all that stuff, strain gauge, amplifier box, and all that stuff to get mounted up. So we're going to go ahead and get brackets made for all them, and that's what we're going to have on next time. So stay tuned, and thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys are looking forward to this build as much as I am, because everything is coming out pretty nice.